Check me out.
Yeah. Hey, podcast listening people. As always, super grateful to have you here. Julius is with me today.
I'm here. I'm on the intro. Julius Hinton on the podcast intro.
This is exciting, guys. We have a great episode for you today. As you know, if you've been paying attention or if you're just hopping in, every 10 episodes or so, Julius and I get to hop in and talk about the current state of affairs, be it external or internal, going on with the podcast, and reflect on some of the insights and value and resources over the past 10 guests. So very excited to share this with you today. Do us this small favor before you leave today. Do not forget to subscribe. First off, that's always great. You know, we're grateful to have you here. So subscribe, leave a review before you leave, and give us a shout on social media too, because you know we love to hear from you. And real quick, before we get on to the podcast, if you're interested in partnering up with us, right? Especially Julius, he's a cool guy.
Yeah, we got a lot of ideas, a lot of things we can do.
Partner up with us. You want to sponsor the show. You want to collaborate in one way or another. I really believe, and Julius, I'm sure you can agree with this, the best way to change and impact the world is to start locally, right? And that's the beautiful thing about the Mile High Mentors podcast. So send us an email, milehighmentors@gmail.com. Give us a shout on social media. Again, milehighmentors@gmail.com. And we will, look to see what we can do to partner up. Also, if you guys sell products and services business to business, you probably know like LinkedIn is really undervalued, and I want to empower more people. Our partners at Active Blogs, we want to empower more people in order to take advantage of the platform. So they have a free training. You guys can check it out. It's a totally free resource for you. activeblogs.com/webinar. Again, activeblogs.com/webinar, and you can learn about the missing links to LinkedIn success. And without further ado, Julius.
Here I come. Here I go.
Please welcome us both to the Mile High Mentors podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, every 10 episodes, Mr. Hinton and I, if you don't know who Julius
Take it from the top.
Take it from the top. Julius Hinton and I, every 10 episodes, are here to sit down and share the sauce that's going on in the background with the podcast. So every 10 episodes, we get to chat. And, if you just started listening in, Julius does all the fun behind-the-scenes tech work, edits the podcast, and helps with a lot of the other social media promotion and everything. And Julius, maybe if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, I guess I can reintroduce myself. But Julius Hinton, producer of Mile High Mentors, just all-around podcast guy, something I've been doing for a while. So me and Connor just kind of put a plan together. Said, hey, we really want to. Well, I saw Connor, producing your own content. He's like, hey, Connor, I got an idea for you. You should do a podcast. And then me and you put our heads together, came up with this awesome idea of Mile High Mentors. And then since then, just been doing some editing, kind of running all the studio equipment and helping you with a little bit of the promotion and stuff. But, it's been a journey. It's been over a year now. I think we hit our year anniversary since the last podcast behind the podcast. So that's something we should celebrate as well. But just to kind of fast forward things, a lot of things have changed.
Hence the sound in the background.
Right on cue, right?
Yeah, exactly. That was perfect. He knew.
Yeah. You must be talking about me, huh, Dad?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing that has changed. But he was here at the last podcast on the podcast. He was a couple weeks old then, but now he's 6 months old. So a lot of literal growth and, mental growth since then, I would say.
Yeah, Julius is now officially Papa. Dude, it's so funny looking back. Like, I didn't even want to do a podcast in the very beginning. I wasn't even interested in doing a podcast. I was like, no.
You were a little apprehensive.
I was a little abrasive about it. I was like, no, dude, like people aren't going to listen to a podcast, and you know they want to tell. Like I want to do a television show, right? Because I'm good on camera and stuff. But the evolution occurred, and you know, it's interesting now looking at the last 10 episodes. What's been beautiful between the last podcast behind the podcast and now, it's consistency, right? We've got our flow down. Yeah. Every Monday, Mile High Mentors Monday. Monday is for the mentors. We're getting a new episode out, and that's been pretty dope for the past few weeks.
Yeah, Mondays is for mentors. Mile High Mentors Monday. And that's just big, man. I mean, first off, you have motivational Mondays. I think that's already out there, so people are already kind of looking for that kind of content. And I think we're kind of really sourcing it on a consistent basis now because me and you have our flow together. And even doing this remote podcasting is making it easier for us to access, you know, the guests that we're really looking to, you know, achieve on our podcast, on our platform.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've gotten some like major influencers in the last, 10 episodes, Conscious Millionaire, pro skiers, John Miller, author of The Question Behind the Question, and some real heavy hitters and some interesting influencers. And we got some
powerful women
stacked up. Yeah, some powerful women. Danelle Delgado talking about how she is now like has Grant Cardone's cell phone number in her back pocket from completely old like videos for weeks at a time just to get the dude's attention.
That was an awesome story. And they even politely asked her to stop. And there's a lot of things, you know, I want to get to on this podcast, Connor, but that's just so many microcosms of the things that we're learning or sharing on this show to the things that I kind of want to talk about later on this actual episode, because we're providing a lot of value. People need this kind of information. Seriously, those kind of stories should inspire you and should get you to, you know, make a difference in your own life.
Yeah, I mean, that situation applies to trying to get a job or trying to get a sale or trying to get anything in life. You got to have the right approach and you got to have a consistent approach, especially with how damn busy most people are nowadays because of technology and all the noise that's happening. But yeah, what's on your agenda, man? That's the beauty of us doing this podcast behind the podcast is we really get the opportunity to vet out some stuff that we get to kind of experience in the last several weeks and everything like that. So what's on your mind?
Right, yeah. Well, there's a lot of things, like I said, going on behind the podcast. Like I said, that's the reason why we love this episode. But just in my real life, I'm getting a lot of people coming up to me, kind of asking for my mentorship in a sense. I've been doing podcasting or radio shows or online internet radio for almost a decade now. So a lot of people are just asking me, how do I get heard? How do I get my podcast to that next level? They see what we're doing on this show and they just kind of want to learn more. But there's a lot of things that we have to kind of go over because anybody can start a podcast. You know, you can get up tomorrow and start a podcast. Mm-hmm. But it's what are you actually trying to provide and what are you trying to do and all those things that you have to really kind of get into the weeds about that people don't like to do. So that's just kind of what I want to talk about just a little bit. Just some of those things that me and you talked about starting this podcast and our mind state in this podcast and what we're trying to do with this podcast and kind of just address some of those people who think that you can just get up tomorrow and become Mile High mentors, if you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah. I mean, as far as technology wise, like it's think of when WordPress came out and people started blogging. You have the same accessibility when it comes to podcasting, but you hit the nail on the head. There's a shit ton of podcasts out there. And so having your unique, twist, like the reason I love this podcast that we do in particular is because in part of our foundation is that there is a lot of podcasts and there's a lot of interview style podcasts where these massive influencers come on as guests. But the cool thing about this, guys, is like these people are accessible. They're literally in your backyard and there's tangible like relationship opportunities there. And it's like niche focused for Coloradoans, where a lot of other podcasts are just like this huge, broad, general type platform.
One thing I learned about podcasting just like a couple of weeks ago is there's over 500,000 podcasts on iTunes, but over half of those aren't even consistent, meaning they don't update their podcast in a consistent manner, whether it's weekly, monthly, bi-monthly, whatever. They don't do it consistently. Over 500,000, so over 250,000 of them don't do that. So if we're consistently doing that, and we have this niche focus of providing, just like Connor said, these top professionals in this market who are coming on the show to connect with you, there's a lot of value there. And I think that's, one of the big pillars of why we started this show.
Yeah, it's just testament to you don't know how the power of your community and like the power of your immediate network, like the connections that we have, Danelle Delgado, I could now probably approach Danelle and say, hey, how would you suggest I get connected up with Grant myself or Brad Lee or Tim Grover, who wrote Relentless, who's an immediate influencer, and he's directly connected up with all the top power leaders in the world. Damon John is directly part of that network. So it's like the foundations are there for you guys to really go take that stuff and run with it. And we're just trying to live that as an example, not to say we're living it as an example so you guys can be empowered to do it yourself, really.
Exactly. And that's the big point of the show that I really hope nobody gets confused about what we're trying to do. We're not just putting people on the show to say, hey, they're on the show. We're putting them on the show to say, hey, they can help you. You can be connected to these people. And here's how, more importantly. Like on every show, I know if you follow us on iTunes, Spotify, or any one of the platforms, Connor, you're doing a great job with these bios. The bio is right there, guys. You can get connected to these people instantly and hear their story and hear, what they're even looking for. So you can provide that value and you're not just, shooting in the dark, if you will.
Yeah. The beautiful part is some of the people we have on, like they do so many media appearances that I can just kind of swipe a bio from somewhere else that they've used it or just have them send me a bio. Sometimes I have to make that up, but I appreciate it. I appreciate the kind words. No, I'm not that sophisticated of a writer, but we can pretend. Now, something that you said that's interesting is a lot of people are trying to start, podcasts are becoming very popularized. It's a great medium to get your voice out there, whatever your niche is. We always make a joke like, if you want to sell rocks by the highway, we'll find the best damn person who's good at selling rocks on the highway and like make that your mentor. So what would you say in this case? Like, what are the 3 or 4 top steps people can take to crafting out and starting a successful podcast?
I would say the very first one is to kind of just like you said, you got to find the right podcast that fits you. Find somebody who's doing what you envisioned your podcast to do, whether that's the Joe Rogans or the Drink Champs or whoever's out there that, you really want to follow and kind of be your guiding light, the true crime podcast of the world. But you really got to find that one and try to see what is it that they're doing that is successful. Are they consistent? Do they have a good visual presence? Do they have a good social media? Do they engage with their following? Try to take a quick market research, if you will, of what's out there and what's working. The second thing I would say is obviously find your niche. You got to figure out what do you want to talk about and what value are you going to provide. If it's just you and the friend talking about what you did last night, that can be cool, but you got to figure out what are you and your friend doing last night that's separating from what me and my friend did last night that I think is cooler. So you really got to highlight that. If that's, I go to Irish bars only, or if I go to sports bars only, or whatever that is, really highlight that and run with that part. A third one I would say is audience. Pay attention to who you're trying to target. Is it younger? Is it older? Is it, multicultural, whatever? Because you have to really be involved with those communities as well. And that would kind of tie into my fourth point, would be to really be in the scene, really get yourself seen. Because I think kind of that's one thing that you really do great is, you're out there. You talk to the community. Something I try to do is kind of be a fly on the wall, like I said, behind the scenes guy. So I always talk to people, see what they have going on, trying to, kind of see what the market really needs and what market shifts are really out there. Are people really focusing on these true crime podcasts, if you will? I just saw Police Station. They started a podcast. It was all about missing people and missing persons, so they could kind of find that niche people who like to look for missing people. So it's all that kind of thing. You have to kind of put all those things in order. What am I trying to provide? Who's going to be interested in this? Is anybody already doing this that's successful? And how can I actually get myself physically involved with that community or that people?
Yeah.
That type of market.
So becoming niche, finding your audience, identifying who your audience is, seeing what other people are doing, and something
model for success.
Yeah, you can tell the pioneers because they're the ones with arrows in their backs, right?
Right.
Those of you that are listening, there's no need for you to do that. There's no new idea you can come up with that's not already out there. Really, there's nothing out there. Every new idea is already out there. So find the success and swipe that. That's why the ClickFunnels thing is so popular. It's like finding what other people are doing and replicate it, but put your own flavor on it and then progress it as you go along.
Yeah, make it your own. Exactly. And that's the whole thing. It's got to be, it's not really going to be original. You have to just make it better. You have to just make it your own. I know one book I read, it's like the business book, the complete business book. It's out there in Barnes and Nobles, but either you got to be first or you got to be better. It's basically that simple. If you're not first, then you just got to be better. And in the podcasting world, unfortunately, you're probably not going to be the first person to start a podcast about whatever you're going to start your podcast about.
Right.
Just to be honest, it's true. So what is it about your podcast that's different? For us, it's our market, Mile High Mentors, Mile High. It's a great city that we live in. Business is booming. It's a lot of great things happening out here, and people want to get connected to it. They just don't quite know how. Now you do. Mile High Mentors.
Dude, I'm seeing article after article after article. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, and
oh yeah,
Denver, top 10 tech cities. Is Kelly leaving? Bye, Kelly.
Yeah. Get her wife out.
That is Julius's wifey and baby walking out the room right now. And
baby's got to eat.
Baby's got to eat. Baby's got to eat, just not on camera. Now, in terms of practical steps, guys, I would say to address a lot of the stuff we're hearing out there too, because I also I'm getting approached by a lot more people. They want to start a platform. I just got off the phone with a dude on Friday who's asking me on how to start a podcast. So I would say just to kind of advance what Julius had even laid the foreground on, which is identifying your niche, your audience, your prospective other podcasts that have been successful, but platform. So a lot of people are like, well, how do I get started with this on the distribution and everything? Luckily, Julius already had the background on that. We use Spreaker. I like Spreaker. It's pretty easy. Go in there, upload, schedule. And if you guys use Spreaker, I think we pay what, $20 a month to host a podcast?
Yeah, less than that, I think.
Yeah. So, it might even be like $15. So Spreaker is great because it allows us to publish out to iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, all the major platforms. So there's lots of different.
What's really good about Spreaker too?
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off, but one thing that's really unique about Spreaker that I really like, and I think is different from some of the other platforms out there, is one, the community that it actually builds, because it's not only, but majority of podcasters that's on there. People don't just put audio files of, playlists on there. It's not like SoundCloud or even iTunes to a degree. It's only going to be podcasters or radio show hosts who are uploading stuff there. So you're going to be really involved with that community. 2 is the distribution, but 3 is also the ability to access the content, like the blogging, essentially. You can go in there and put, a lot of different catchphrases or keywords in there. You can put links in there. You got great pictures and photos that show up visually. That shows up on Google already metadated. So those little things do come back and do help you as far as building up, again, your brand for the podcast.
Yeah, people can download the audio directly. Like Cameron Brown, I sent the raw audio from Spreaker linked to have his team, chop up some content, which brings me to my next step. So like, you have your niche ID what platform you want to host everything on. Content is the biggest driver, because if we just were uploading episodes to Spreaker and all the native platforms, we wouldn't get any traction without the content. So whether it's, video, or we've been using Headliner for a lot of our like wavelength promotional posts. So
there's a lot out there for that.
Yeah, I really like that.
That's something really huge too.
Yeah,
I love that. The Headliner, the stuff that you're putting out there, that you're creating, that's awesome. But yeah, you nail on the head, man. The content is king. Again, you got to separate yourself. There's 500,000 podcasts out there. What are you doing? You got to ask yourself, what are you really doing? So is it video? Like that's what we do. We do video and audio. In this day and age, if you don't have video and audio, I feel like you're just not with it. Everybody wants to see and hear things. And even hearing things is becoming more popular, as we're talking about. But you got to be able to see. We're visual people. Most people are. I'm a visual learner myself. I think, Connor, you're a visual learner, aren't you?
Yeah.
You got a whiteboard behind you.
Big time.
So, yeah, you're a visual learner.
Yeah, big time.
So that's really important. So take pictures of your podcast, take pictures of the set, get your social media up. If you don't have social media following your podcast, then you're really shooting yourself in the foot. Spreaker alone is not just going to do it, just like Connor said. Just uploading the Spreaker will not. You'll get some traction, but you won't really make a splash. And then you'll end up quitting, and then you'll say this podcast thing didn't work.
Right.
Which I hear a lot.
Right. Yeah. And then to follow up with that schedule, like I could only imagine where we'd be today if we would have done Mondays for the mentors every week since we started the podcast. You know what I mean? And but we at least got started. So you got to start somewhere. But once we started getting the consistency in, I mean, even the metrics have exponentially, holy shit, have exponentially grown just by having the consistency more in place. So it makes a difference.
Yeah. But just to kind of back up a little bit on that statement, that's the biggest thing, is that you just got to start it and be consistent with it. Whether it's, a little inconsistent to begin with, or, you're not doing it every week like you want to or whatever, just keep going. You got to just start it and keep going. Just to kind of back up to the whole, when people are telling me, I want to start a podcast, I want to do it, and then ask for help. You know what I mean? Hey, I started a podcast. How do I do X, Y, and Z? It's a lot easier for me to help you and solve than, hey, I just want to start a podcast. It's like, hey, here's my dream. It's like, okay, but what's your plan? Do you have any benchmarks? Do you have any achievements? What have you worked at it? Those things have to be put in place. Same thing with, life. You can't just say, hey, I want to pay my bills. It's the same thing. You got to go to work. You got to put the things in order. So it's just going back to it. Just do it. Start it. There's 500,000 out there. Go ahead and start one. But follow up on it. Be consistent. Go through the grind. Try to sharpen, your saw with it. Don't just start it and then let the fire burn out, and then you don't feel like talking on the camera anymore. Because that's going to happen. It's going to get a little old. It's not glitz and glamour. That's why it's podcasting. You're not on the media, not on the nightly news. You're not the anchor man. Not yet, at least.
Maybe we should label this "Just Do It," and we'll just get picked up by all the noise and everything that's coming in from the new Nike campaign with Colin K.
Wait,
no, not Colin K. Wait, is that Colin? Yeah.
Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah. I was also like all the political shit going down. I was like Kaepernick and then Kavanaugh. I was like, those are the two Ks that are opposite end of the spectrum. But yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, seriously though, just start it. That's like the biggest thing. You just got to grab it. Like, me and Connor, I don't know how many different set designs or setups I've tried out with this.
Oh, yeah.
I can tell you, it took a while for us to get this consistent. as far as even this setup. And today we're doing a new one, as far as me and you. We haven't done a remote together before. So, but yeah, that's the whole thing. It's going to evolve. You got to go with the changes, just to kind of piggyback on our show with Cameron Brown. That's what he was talking about. You got to be able to adapt to changes.
Yeah, I mean, we tried so hard to get this into a format like we're going to get all these guests in the studio, do all this in person. We're in Colorado. Obviously, it makes sense. But to get a weekly show out and get these people coordinated in person, especially with the limited resources we have at this point in time, we're not funded. We don't have fun. Like, we just personally fund this podcast out of our own pockets. And so, we had to kind of realize, well, what's going to be the balance? Do we want the consistency or do we not want the consistency just for the fact that we want to get people in person? And also, that's us taking time from our valuable guests to drive and meet us. And, that's all good. There's a time and place for that, but we can make ourselves a more valuable asset by saying, hey, you can just dial in remote and we can do this thing.
Yeah. Yeah, because, at the end of the day, it goes back to, kind of going back to those 4 things I said about your podcast. What are you doing it for? Our main focus is to provide the value for the listener, to let them know that these people are out here, that they can connect to them. So however we can do that is how we should get that done. And I think that's a big, change that we made. And I think it was an honor to, stand by our commitment to bring that value, bring as much value as we can, not to do it in a certain way, but to just get the end result done. Get these awesome people on the show, get their stories told, let you know that you can be helped by these people, and get that information out there consistently so that way to expect it. That's what we're doing. So,
what else is going down, man? Like, what else should we chat on between, some of the stuff we had talked about?
Oh, man. Like I said, I'm just going through a lot of stuff on the personal side when people come up to me in mentorship. So, I've talked about the podcasting side. As you know, but some of the listeners may not know, I did sales, or I still do sales. Been doing that for about 8 years now. But at my current job, I'm in the top 20 percentile of, top performers. So I get a lot of people asking me questions about how to be better at sales, what they can do to be better at sales. And, kind of just, I should just turn them on to Connor's LinkedIn is what I probably should do. Just take myself completely out of this conversation. I get a lot of questions about that. And
about what? LinkedIn specifically, or more about the sales, like just sales process?
A lot of sales process, but a lot of, how are you doing well? How are you a top performer? What are you doing exactly? And to be honest, and this, Connor, because you're one of these guys, there's nothing that you're doing, it's something that you consistently do throughout your life, and that's just kind of what I want to kind of talk about on a mentorship level. But I'm sure people are looking at you, on this platform and, looking up to you as well, saying, how is this guy, able to do this? You're running or help run a multi-million-dollar company, and I don't even know how old you are, but I just know you're way younger than me, guy. So these people are looking at us and they're just saying, how are we doing this? But to really boil down to it, it's really just who we are. And it's really just how we go about things and how we think about things. And I just kind of want to talk a little bit about some exact examples of the way that we kind of navigate, not necessarily through life, but through difficult decisions or through obtaining things that we want. So in instance, going for the close. I think a lot of people don't do that. I think a lot of people, kind of going back to the podcast, they talk about what they want. They don't actually act upon what they want. And to be more literal on the sales side, how do you go about on a day-to-day basis holding your position in a sense? You're a young guy. You work for a multi-million-dollar company. A lot of people are looking up to you. You're an innovator, even with your company, because you're, changing things. How do you go about just keeping that level, consistent in that perspective?
For me, you're asking like me specifically, or you're prompting the audience?
Yeah.
Me.
As an example.
From the outside looking in, yeah, like I look like this like super productive, consistent guy, but I'm really not. Like, I have my downsides, and I can be lazy as shit. Like, it's easy for me to lay down and watch 4 hours of Netflix. But when I have the opportunity to capitalize on like the things I'm working on, then I probably take advantage more than people. So that's probably where I differentiate myself and why, I'm young. Just for context, guys, you're about to hit the dirty 30 here soon, aren't you? Like what? You're 28 now? 20?
Allegedly. Let's just say I'm not 30.
Not 30. Are you 29 or 28?
29.
Yeah, you're 29.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. So for context, guys, I turn 25 next month, and I've accomplished quite a bit more than even people who are 3 times my age, because I don't sit and wait around when I come up with something that I know is right or something that I know I want to accomplish. I immediately take action on it, even if it's imperfect action. This podcast is a perfect example. Like,
thank you. Yes.
We did not have all these things in place. We barely had anything in place compared to how most people plan out starting something like this. And even Julius, in a lot of ways, I remember you were trying to like just trying to process things. Like, you're such a process guy, and I'm such like a moment, like just like a, I don't know. We're just, you and I both have our own areas of expertise. And so,
I totally understand what you're saying.
And so it's like, I would much rather take action on something and take imperfect action on something and do that consistently and refine as I go than just sit around with like my hands in my pants and nothing ever ends up, happening. So that's how I am productive. When I don't want to do something, when I don't want to make that freaking sales call.
Right.
When I feel that, when most people feel that, they back down. When I feel that thing that I like, when I know there's something that's the thing I don't want to do the most, you know what I mean? Like, out of my list of things, the very last thing on my list that I want to do, I have to make that the first thing that I do.
Get it out the way.
Get out the way.
Get to it. Yeah.
Get after it. And on the
goes
sales
back to taking action.
Say that again?
No, so that goes back to taking action. That's exactly it. You got to take action. I mean, even if it's something that you hate to do, that goes back to me, like, doing my sales calls. I talk to contractors throughout the U.S. all day, so sometimes you don't want to talk to them. Let's just be flat out honest. But
you're telling me contractors aren't the most fun people to talk to all day?
What? Allegedly, yeah.
Allegedly. There's a lot of allegedlys going on in this conversation.
I figure that's the climate that we're in right now, so we'll just use a lot of that stuff. That just goes back to, really what changed me, Connor, what helped was that 10X book you gave me, Grant Cardone's 10X, because that's what I do with those opportunities. Things I hate doing, when it's 5 o'clock and I'm supposed to get off at 5 o'clock and I haven't got my sale, I'm going to make at least 10 more calls before I go home, instead of being a guy who leaves, at 4:57. And it doesn't seem like, I'm not going to say I get a sale every day during that time period. That's absurd. But it's that little bit of extra hustle. That's kind of my thing. I'd be damned if I get outworked. If I see somebody who's doing what I want to do and he's working, then I'm going to hang around and try to figure out how I can help, or try to literally build my own thing and work harder than that guy. So even at work, I look to my left, I look to my right, and I try to make sure I outwork both of those guys. It's basically that simple. And I think if a lot of people took that same mentality, that's what they're looking for. It's not really a plan. It's not an A, B, C, D, E thing. It's a mentality. Get to it. So just like you're saying, this is the last thing I want to do. So it's going to be the first thing I'm going to do.
Exactly.
So that way I can look forward to everything else I'm doing and have fun.
Yeah. People are like, do what you love. Like, live every day doing what you love. Like, no, do what's hard. Do what's hard so you can do the things that you love. People, like, I was with a group of my friends last night up in Fort Collins, like my oldest friends since we were like 12, 13. We've been friends for a long, long time. And most of them still kind of work, like starter jobs and everything like that. And a lot of them claim me as smart, right? People call me smart. Yeah. I'm like, dude, I'm not that intelligent. I'm really not. I just take more action than anybody, and I take more consistent action than anybody. And if you look at the theme of the mentors, if you look at the last 10 episodes that we've had of this podcast, you will notice a theme that these people are not necessarily the smartest in the room, but they take action and they don't perfect things when they get started. Like if you go back and listen to John G. Miller's, he's globally well known, speaker, author, entrepreneur. The guy probably makes $100,000 just to go speak at a conference and headline a conference and stuff like that. And
1,500 podcast episodes published.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And his main thing is the question behind the question, which is basically a rule on accountability. Instead of asking, like if Julius is in the office, and instead of asking, why do we run out of, why does nobody fill the coffee, filter or fill the coffee pot? This is like a micro example of it. Instead, taking the responsibility, what can I do to make sure that the coffee pot is full every day for everybody? So that's a micro level. That's a micro version of the QBQ. But John didn't start that way. Like he started his entrepreneurial journey coming from a sales role and talking about leadership, talking about entrepreneurship. Like he had all these kind of main talking points. Over the years, he refined out to the question behind the question, which is now he has multiple best-selling books. And like I said, the guy can charge $100,000 to go speak somewhere. And that's really testament to like, you don't got to be first. You don't got to be perfect. You just take consistent action and refine as you go along.
And that's exactly what we did here. Oh, mic drop. The mic is actually on the stand. But
it would have sounded really aggressive if I would have dropped that mic. Pick this thing up and drop it.
Might crash through the table. That's a big mic you got.
It would absolutely do that because I have a glass desk here.
No, all that. But seriously, that's totally it. And I was actually thinking of just to kind of give you another example of what you were saying. Is Natalie Ewing. Remember she was talking about her job on the Wall Street Stock Exchange? And I kind of forgot. I think she was like director of entertainment or something like that, but she didn't have any clue what she was doing. But she took the action.
Basically a professional schmoozer.
Professional schmoozer of the Wall Street guy. Well, I think she was like, 22? Like, I just think she was really young in her career, and that's, the job she did, entertaining the client. So at that point, you just got to jump into the fire kind of thing. Same kind of reason with the podcast. If you want to start something, whether it's, losing weight, whether it's, changing your career, it's just, moving, you just got to do it. Instead of worrying about, like I said, the processing of the what ifs and all the other things, just start it and refine it along the way. Fair to say.
Super fair to say. Yeah, no, well, and Natalie, like, I get approached. This might be another interesting topic, and I'm kind of shifting my mindset on this quite a bit as well. But a lot of people try to hone their craft and create their success by starting their own business, or they're like currently in a job, which is a vehicle, and they try to step out to, start their own blog that they're going to try and monetize, and then they fail and then they do whatever. Like, I'm a huge proponent of being an intrapreneur. entrepreneur, which is a topic I'm becoming really fascinated by, in that Julius, although he is employed by a company, although I am in partnership with my father in our business, like I didn't invest the funds up front to start this company that I'm in right now. But I plan on quadrupling here and exponentially growing the company in the next couple of years. So same with Julius. He has the ability to be an entrepreneur and to live an entrepreneurial life within the vehicle that he's in. So a lot of people think you have to go start your own business to be an entrepreneur. Those of you guys that are listening, you don't have to do that. And that's the beauty of mentors and Mile High mentors, is find a mentor, find a vehicle that you can get the experience, build your wealth, not just financially, but education, spiritually, build your wealth in that manner, and you leverage the vehicles that exist, instead of going out and like getting frustrated and like having to like lose your life to try and start up a business from scratch. It's not necessary now.
Yeah, especially in this day and age. I mean, I think we've even talked about this. There's so many ways to provide value, and to make money. I mean, I can't recall what episode this was, but I know it was in the last 10. But I can't recall what guest it was. They were saying how the internet is basically a leveraging tool. That's all the internet is. It's a big, giant, exchange to leverage your value to somebody who needs it. So you don't need to spend thousands of dollars to get a brick and mortar business and pay your rent, your deposits, insurance, and all these things to, provide your value or your product to the world. Even what Connor's saying, find somebody who could use your product, or already has your product, and you can refine that and make it better. You could work for that company, take their profits by forefront, and without even spending the dime of your own money, you now have the CEO lifestyle because you're working directly with that CEO. You're going to make that guy retire because now he's your mentor. You learn about the business, and you take over for him at a later date, if that's what you want to do.
Yeah,
that's.
I just think that because of social media, entrepreneurship is becoming really popularized, but because of that, it's also becoming very commoditized. And a lot of you guys, instead of trying to spin your wheels, like I said, find a vehicle. You can become a multimillionaire working for somebody else. There's no reason to do that. So that's something I'm super fascinated by. I remember the saying. Yeah.
Sorry, I just remember this saying. It was on one of my favorite songs back in the day. But the guy was like, you could be a millionaire with your own idea, or you could be, a billionaire with somebody helping somebody else with their idea.
Yeah.
Which one are you? You got to ask yourself that. Exactly. I'd rather be much more in the helping business than, provide myself, to focus on myself. I'd rather provide value to somebody else and get compensated for that.
Mm-hmm.
And to worry about, everybody loves Julius, pay me. Not looking for that.
Mm-hmm. You're looking for an opportunity, right? Looking for, like I said, vehicle. Get yourself in the right vehicle, and exactly. Opportunity is endless. Now, if you're capped out, like let's say you want to make $500,000 a year, and the top producer in the company you're in is only making $200,000 a year. Well, you're in the wrong vehicle. So go find the vehicle.
Exactly.
There's people making $500K or $1 million, and that will give you the opportunity. But so being able to really ID the other vehicle. And something else, holy shit, guys, like stop being selfish about what it is you want. So you and I just talked about this the other day. I guess now's a good segue into it. I've been in a lot of hiring situations. Again, I'm young, but I've been fortunate enough where I've been able to hire, with RBA, I've made 20 plus hiring decisions. Some people 3 times my age. And let me kind of share a story about this and then lead into the value prop. Is that I put a post out. We're actually currently looking to hire a sales development representative for our company, and I put the call out. Somebody messaged me on Facebook, and first off, the details of what I was hiring for were in the post that I posted in the first place. The person didn't read the damn post, and basically was asking me about getting hired at Mile High Mentors, but the job was not for Mile High Mentors. It was for my other business, which was clearly stated. Now, after that, I sent the person my website, said, no, it's actually for this. They came back. They made a statement about the business, which was completely false, so they clearly didn't even do the research. And then the second question they asked me was, what's the pay and how many hours? This was a direct message on Facebook. Now, let me tell you guys, if you are looking for a real opportunity, if you're looking for a real vehicle and you're looking for something that's substantial, okay, you may have to start off working for free. And you should go in with that mindset. Like if it's something you're passionate enough about, go in and vet the opportunity before the first thing you ask that person is, what's in it for me? What's in it for me, right? I don't care. I don't care. I want to know what you can do for me. I'm trying to hire somebody. I'm not like interested in sharing. Like, I don't know, dude. I haven't even talked to you. You may be worth $15 an hour for me, or you may be worth $100,000 salary. I don't know. We just hired someone for $100,000 a year, but that guy, I will never interview him because all he's concerned about is what he's going to get out of it. And then I responded, I called him out and was like, hey, dude, I've been in a lot of hiring decisions. You know what? That's not an appropriate question to ask before you and I have even had a discussion offline about what this role is, what it entails, what the opportunity is. Okay. So I just had to go off on a rant on that because that's kind of like, it's kind of outrageous. You know what I mean? If there's a vehicle, go vet that opportunity before you start asking, what's in it for me?
It goes all the way back to something that we kind of like beating the dead horse on, but what are you providing? Why would that company even hire you? If it's a $100,000 position, are you going to make them $1 million? Is that why you're going to get $100,000? I mean, there's going to be some expectations with it. So it's frustrating. My side of it is just dealing with selfish salesmen, people who try to push a product down a customer's throat, and they're not even, the customer's clearly just asking them questions about the product. How does this work? Can it work for me? What happens in this scenario? And the only thing you can see is the dollar signs. And I think maybe, Tommy, you might have seen this back at the old knocking on doors thing days back then, but it really just gets frustrating when people are so oblivious. Kind of like the guy who hit you up for the interview, when they're just oblivious to being a decent person almost.
Well, you can tell the quality of someone's mindset and where they're at by not by what they say, not by what they promote, but by the questions that they ask.
Yeah.
You are only as valuable as the questions that you ask.
Yeah, that is true. That's a mic drop right there. So if you're only asking, for credit cards, if you're only asking for, things that help you move yourself forward, and not anything that you're not asking any questions about why that person would actually gain value from whatever it is that you're trying to, give them, you're going the wrong way. You're going all the way. It's just like you're saying, like asking how much can I get paid to do this job before I even ask you what the job is, before I can even find out if I can even do the job. I should just sign up to take on a $100,000 like bathroom remodel, even though I've never done a bathroom before.
Well, and the kids
kind of mentality.
The kid's excuse for why he asked me that specifically was so silly. It was like, well, I'm a college student, and I'm going to read this for you guys specifically, just so you understand.
Let's do it.
So here's my response. Hey, what do you pay? Okay, what do you pay and what's the hours? And I say,
not even a proper sentence.
Here's my response. You're asking the wrong question. If your biggest priority and only question for me is hours and what you're getting paid, this is not the right opportunity for you, and I wish you the best of luck. This person responds to me, as a university student, those are the most important questions because of our extremely limited time compared to the majority of the workforce. Flexibility and pay are the logical priorities to see if an occupation fits our needs for the voluntary exchange of labor. This mindset right here is why people are fucking losing.
Yeah. Thank you. Please. Oh my God.
This is why people dislike the millennial generation. This mindset right here is why people are unhappy and why people are angry with the millennial generation because of this, okay? I, as an employer, do not give a shit what your situation is. I don't care. I have worked for free in multiple situations to get opportunity. So,
I mean, it goes back to why would you care? If I'm hiring you, why would that move me any way on the spectrum? Why? It wouldn't. That's not my intention. My intention is to help my business and get more family with more time with my family. I don't care what you're doing with your time. That's not my priority. So why are you telling me what your priority is about my priority? You know, it's not ever going to match up. And you did it politely. I probably would have said something a little bit meaner to that guy myself. I mean, you're actually nice enough to respond to it, I should say.
He's a young kid. Hopefully he'll learn his lesson from that. And I would, I'm not here to like demonize I'm not here to put people down or put this person down. Like, no. It's a good learning lesson, but you got to understand, guys.
But we have to be honest too.
You got to be honest. You got to be straightforward. You got to be honest with yourself. Like, what do I give a shit? You're a university student? Okay. I've built multiple businesses while a university student. I've worked multiple jobs as a university student. I've created multiple opportunities, and it's not an excuse. And it's not something that if you're really looking for a big opportunity, like a big opportunity that's going to be a massive vehicle for you, it's a wrong approach. It's total wrong approach.
Yeah, that guy's never going to get what he's seeking based on the way he's going about it. And it's just that simple. And that's all we're trying to do is just, and I'm kind of glad we're doing it because I want to give out, real literal examples on this episode to, help the people who are listening, who are trying to better themselves. Don't be that guy. Seriously, just don't be that like that. Don't be out it for your own intentions. Ask, like Connor's saying, ask the questions, learn, do the research first, go the hard way, take the road less traveled. It's always a better view that way.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to make $10 an hour, those are the right kind of questions to ask.
Yeah, if you Wendy's would have told you, that's what Wendy's would have said. 40 hours a week, 10.50.
Yeah, guarantee this person who I hire for this role is going to make six figures in their first at least 2 years in business, 2 to 3 years.
Let me ask you.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this though. What was that guy you hired? What was his first question? Do you remember?
We didn't hire anybody yet.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
No, we hired for another. No, we hired a content director recently, but that was our last hire. It's not a sales role position. So we're hiring multiple, like we're always hiring. We're always hiring great people. We're a company built around great people. And so we're part of that mentality is always hiring. If someone approached me and was like, hey, actually, here's a cool example. One of our employees that's been with us for 2 years now, he used to work in a soap shop. Okay. He worked in a soap shop and he was interested in getting into marketing. He came and worked for us for free for 2 months. No pay. Free. Didn't ask for shit. Guess what, guys? He is a full-time salaried employee right now. Making good money.
You don't think he had that idea when he started? That's a great story. That's an awesome story.
So
and I bet you he had that idea and vision when he first came to work for free. But they didn't plan on doing it forever, but he understood. Probably should learn what I'm doing. Probably should get good at it. Probably should give this company some value before I ask for something. And guess what? He did that, and he asked for a job. You guys gave him a job, and I bet he's been happy for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound so simple sometimes, but
it is.
It really can be that.
It really is. So, guys, let's start wrapping this thing up. But, lots of progression. If you haven't, go back and listen to the last several episodes we've put out. The guests are insane, and their stories are incredible. And here's my suggestion. Here's my suggestion when you're listening to podcasts, listening to our podcast is cherry pick, okay? Not everything applies to you. Not everything someone talks about applies to you. I have listened to people I don't agree with. I've read books that suck. I've read bad books and have still gotten really good information. So it's just those golden nuggets that you're looking for when you're listening to the Mile High Mentors podcast that you can take and you can apply. And you may go back and listen to another episode from from last year, and you may get something different from that guest than you did when you listened to it at the current state and time, because your life is always changing. Things are always progressing. So take the things that apply to you most and bring those into your life.
Yeah, take action.
Final note.
I mean, I know that's something we've been preaching, I want to say, since the very beginning, since episode 1. But take action, and it starts by clicking play on this podcast. And if you have been listening to this podcast, we do thank you. I'm going to go ahead and take Connor's gratitude here for a second, because I don't get to do the intros. But I just want to share that we are thankful for your feedback, and we do appreciate you guys listening, following us on all of our platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all the places that we publish this great podcast. But truly, truly, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you for listening. Please, please, please take some action on some of the value that we're trying to provide you.
And do one thing. Leave a review and subscribe while you're there. And tell if it's not for you, if it's not relevant for you, or if it is, tell somebody else. Word of mouth. I guarantee you there's somebody in your life that if what we do isn't applicable for you, is applicable for them in one way or another. And again, we're here for you guys. So we're going to wrap this thing up. And as always, appreciate you.